Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you, if I can do this, so can you. So let's get started. This podcast is a long time in the making. This one is going to absolutely blow your mind because this podcast is going to show you step by step some solutions that you can implement in your business when you run across property owners that don't have equity or don't have a lot of equity. And that is why I brought on the nation's short sale queen, Nicole Espinosa from Dallas, Texas, is here on this podcast. I am absolutely thrilled. Say hello to everybody, Nicole.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, so happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're on here. Listen to this. Nicole has done over 3,000 short sales. She is in 13 markets that she's like majorly in, but really, if the deal is right, if the situation's right, can do this nationwide. And we're going to open this up because this is an incredible resource for everybody that is wholesaling real estate. You're probably wondering, what does short sales have to do with wholesaling? And Nicole's going to explain it and educate us right here so that we can know, so that we can squeeze out opportunity from every single lead that we come across. So, Nicole, first of all, we are going to get in the DeLorean. We're gonna time travel. We're going to go back when you first started in your real estate journey.
Yeah.
How old were you? What was going on? Who were you at that time?
Yeah, so I was 21 and I had just moved to Texas. I'm originally from Florida. And my first job here, or first exposure to real estate, was actually in the REO market. So I was doing foreclosures and I was working with asset managers, and it was in 2008 where, the prime of the REOs hit the market, right? And so the first exposure I had was just this completely different experience than most real estate agents or most people in the industry have. And so I was learning the nuts and bolts of it. And I was managing, at the time, we were getting 100 to 125 listings a month, new assignments. And so the brokerage that I was working with did it at a high volume, and it was crazy. Like,
now, when you say assignments, you're going to make wholesale people go, wait a second, assignment, like assignment fees?
Like listings. No, you're right.
Listings, right. So, when Nicole is talking about REOs, that stands for real estate owned. So a lot of 2008, 9, 10 people were losing properties to foreclosure. They go back to the bank into their REO department. That means that the bank owns those properties. And when they do, they assign these properties to be sold on the open market to certain real estate agents that have an account with them. And I assume you're a part of a team that was one of those brokerages.
Yes, exactly. So the brokerage had a lot of relationships with different asset managers that worked for the bank that would give us those listings. And we had to manage it from evicting the homeowners down to getting it listed. So I saw the entire, how it worked behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Worst job I ever had, right? Like, it was heartbreaking because I had to, see people get evicted with families and all of that. And people don't understand like the psychology of it. And back then, there was no process to really help people before that point, right? It was craziness. If you've been in the industry a while, you'll know like the majority of the market was filled with foreclosures. Yep. And there wasn't that much information about short sales, which is what we'll get into. And so I had left that job. I had my license and got into my first listing as a traditional agent, and it was a short sale. And so it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I can figure this out, right? Because I already have this, background of working with these lenders. And I did my first short sale, and I started developing the process that we utilize today, fast forward 10, 11 years later, and it's what we do with the banks. And we were doing it when the banks weren't fully establishing their processes. So kind of learning with the banks as they were setting that up, and short sales became more prominent.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Nicole. I mean, it's like you're taking me down memory lane, because at the time I owned a brokerage in 2008, and we had started to do short sales. We had 300 ready to go. I mean, it was like unbelievable. And there was no departments. There was nobody to talk to. It was overwhelmed. Like we didn't know what to do. I mean, a lot has changed, which is phenomenal. And it's exciting now that you can find an opportunity, but let's make it real simple here. Okay. What is a short sale and how does this help this wholesaling, this Rhino tribe, all these wholesalers that are watching and listening? How do we use short sales to our benefit?
Yeah, absolutely. So a short sale is where a homeowner has some type of financial hardship where they can't afford the mortgage anymore. And they, in order to sell, they would have to bring money to closing that they don't have. So what we do is we go to their bank and we negotiate for the bank to take the loss instead of the homeowner. So it allows the homeowner to be able to sell the home without owing anything and walking away free and clear from their debt. So they're getting to avoid foreclosure and they're walking away with settled debt. So how it plays with wholesalers and investors is, you know, a lot as investors, and especially a lot of new investors, of course, you're taught go after properties with equity, right? The high equity. But what people don't understand is that there is opportunity for properties that don't have equity. So if the numbers do not make sense, most investors are like, okay, throw away the lead, let's move forward, right? Yep. And instead of doing that, guess what? The homeowners still need help. So you have an opportunity to be able to not only help these people, but an opportunity to buy a house at a discount where normally you wouldn't be able to, because you'd be buying it through the bank instead of the homeowner directly.
Got it. So just for simple math, if somebody owes 150 and their property is worth, 155, they don't really have enough equity in there to pay a real estate agent, to pay the title and escrow fees, to be able to, kind of get that done. And they have a hardship, whether it be now, obviously with the pandemic and with anything, with that, or maybe it's just a financial hardship. Maybe they lost a job or maybe they can't afford it anymore. It's not necessarily only people in foreclosure, right?
Correct. So you're absolutely right. They don't have to be in foreclosure. They just have to have a hardship. And now what they're doing, I actually did a video on this today, that what they're proposed, the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, what they're proposing for people that have a financial hardship due to COVID is that COVID is a permanent hardship. So all you have to say is, I was affected by COVID, and they have to approve assistance.
Wow. And then what happens is, so let's just say I'm an investor. Well, I am an investor. So let's just say it's me. Let's say I've got a deal here in Phoenix. They owe 300. I want to buy this thing for 270 to make it make sense. They've got a hardship. And then what do I just negotiate a short? Do I bring my offer to somebody at the bank and say, hey, would you consider this? They've got a hardship. This is what I can pay for it. Will you accept it?
So you would actually need an agent to be involved in the process. Because you're the buyer, you can't negotiate on behalf of the homeowner. The homeowner has to have representation. So you would work with someone like me and my company, where we would submit and negotiate your offer with the bank. And so would provide, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, we have a hardship. There's a lot of documents involved and a lot of proof with their financials that we collect. So we take care of the whole process. And what we do is we go to bat. There's two parts of getting it approved. One, the financial hardship, and then your offer by getting an appraisal by the bank, and it's going to be an as is. Because let's go with your scenario of 155 and 150. Not only is it closing costs, but you have to think about most of the time when someone's behind on one thing, they're generally behind on more than one thing, right? On everything else. So a lot of times we see second liens, HOAs, taxes, judgments, and then a lot of times the houses are not in the best shape. So where we get the biggest discount is by getting repair bids and working with the investor to try and get that price down as low as possible.
Love it. And when I commit, now this is a little bit different than a traditional wholesale. When I submit that offer to you, you get that offer accepted by the bank. I have to close that, right? I can't just assign my interest for more on that deal, right? I have to close it.
So you can wholesale it in the sense where you can do a double close. So you can get transactional funding where you can do same day. But you're right, the person that it puts the offer in, you can't assign it and then, assign the contract, but you can do a double close where you close on the front end and then, give it to the back end buyer.
So they don't put any flip contingencies that you have to own it for a certain amount of time. Is that bank by bank? What does that look like?
So it's completely bank by bank. I can tell you that we saw a lot of deed restrictions, which is what you're talking about.
Yep.
It doesn't allow resale. We're not seeing as much anymore in the last couple years. The biggest, where the most often that we see it is generally with Freddie Mac loans, but
Okay.
FHA and conventional, we're not seeing.
Wow, that is huge. Because listen, for everybody listening, back in the day, if it was a short sale, they would make you, if you were the buyer on that short sale, they would make you have that property for a minimum 90 days before you can resell it to anybody. And some of them had some deed restrictions where you could only sell it a certain amount of times within a certain time frame. Like you could only sell it to 3 different owners in like 12 months or something like that.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore. You have to remember too that because time has evolved, right? They just want to protect to make sure that they're not getting screwed over, right? They want to make sure that, that they are getting the highest for the property. But at the end of the day, if the house needs to be discounted for repairs, it's not going to finance. So it's going to sell to an investor. So even if they foreclose, they would have to sell it at a discount. So why not go through the short sale? Now, I will tell you, a lot of times the deed restrictions come up if the bank is taking a significant loss. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that happen if the bank is taking like hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss, where they're like, okay, if we're going to take this loss, we want to make sure that it's not, not warranted. So Got it. Totally understand. So just to simplify this, if you've got a property that doesn't have a lot of equity, but it needs a lot of work, like for whatever reason, maybe they got a home equity line and pulled out their equity, or maybe they just refinance or did something where they just don't have a lot of equity. The best deals for us wholesalers from a traditional wholesale standpoint is probably properties that need an as-is appraisal, right? We're not going to, it's not effective to think that we can go into a property that's beautiful and totally redone and has 15 comps in this master planned community. And, and all of a sudden this house should appraise at 500, but we're putting in an offer at 300,000. That's not going to fly. Right. Exactly. I mean, not every lead is going to work out because of what you're saying, because there is going to be some pretty properties that don't warrant the deep discount, but we do pay for the leads. So if you're not purchasing it or you don't have the ability to, we pay you 25% of whatever we make. So you're still getting compensated. You're still getting compensated, and you still, because here's the thing, direct marketing is expensive. So if you can find a way to have a tool for every single, or a solution for every single lead, your cost per lead is going to go down significantly, which is so important, because how hard is it to get the right lead, someone on the phone, and then find a motivated seller and not be able to do anything with it, right? So
I love it.
Those solutions is going to help tremendously.
I love it. And you're absolutely right. I mean, either way, if we're coming from a standpoint of serving our community, what is the best way to avoid somebody getting kicked out of their property, right? If it's a short sale, they know when they have to be out. They know what's going on. There's no mystery there. It's not some weird auction situation that happens and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen and the auction gets postponed. They don't know if they own the house, if they don't own the house. The uncertainty is taken care of because when this short sale is going to close. And I'm thinking here, and I wrote down my notes here, 3,000, you've helped 3,000 homeowners, families, people in the community avoid probably one of the most embarrassing social event of all time, right? Getting kicked out of a house that you owned in front of people that you know and everything. Like, this is just, how do you feel about that? You got to feel like just outstanding.
Well, it's so rewarding, not only being able to help them in this situation, but also being able to help them almost press the reset button, right?
Yep.
Because not only do they get out of this debt free, right? Because we're settling everything, but they're going to be able to purchase in the next 2 to 3 years. So a lot of times what we do is we tell them, hey, this is your chance. This is your chance to get everything right and then get into a new mortgage where you're in positive equity.
Love it.
And because the idea of homeownership is to build equity, right?
Yep.
So you're getting out of this bad situation, bad memories, and being able to start over. And so we have the best clients. I mean, we're able at the very end. I mean, we have so many reviews from just people that are so grateful because it's not easy.
No.
Easy, everybody would do it, right?
Listen, I've done it. It's so much work. And if you're just doing it on your own for the first time, I mean, get ready for the longest learning experience of all time. I suggest anybody that is focused on their wholesaling business, on finding deals, on doing flips, on doing these things, do not negotiate these yourself. Go with a pro like Nicole. Go with Nicole. I mean, it's way too much work, and the learning curve is so high. It's a lot of fist fighting, a lot of brain damage, and it's just not worth it in the end. You should be out going after some better opportunities. But what Nicole's basically saying is, listen, if you go into a situation with a lead and they're telling you that they're in some form of distress, they have a problem, but they don't have equity and the property's in rough condition, ding, 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 ding. The solution that should be ringing in your head is for them to do a short sale. And if you refer them over to Nicole's company, then they take it from there. I assume you will reach out to these owners and then walk them through the process and educate them. And not only that, just so that your sellers, your leads will answer that phone call when Nicole's company calls, you got to let them know the difference between what happens to your credit score and your credit report if you foreclose on that property versus if you do a short sale. It's the difference between 2 years to 3 years versus 7. Am I right?
Yeah, 7 to 10 whenever they actually report it. So absolutely. Plus, not only that, you leaving yourself open to liability if you go through foreclosure, right? Because you still have the debt, that deficiency, which is the difference between what they sold it for and what you owed. And you can get taxed. You can get 1099 for that difference as well. So there's a lot of benefits to doing this short sale. And I think it's, we make it super easy. If you're referring it over, you literally just go to our website, thessqueen.com, and we get it instantly notified of the lead. We call within 10 to 15 minutes, and then we connect with you. So what people love about our system is that we give weekly updates. So you're going to know every step of the way what's going on, which is huge, right? Because so many people work so hard to get referrals, but do nothing to keep it.
Right.
And we're 100% referrals. So we want to make sure everybody's on the same page and they know that we're on top of it.
I love it. I love it. And listen, guys, this is just another resource. And now these deals aren't going to come up all the time, but when they come up, there should be an option for every lead that you have. If you run across somebody that is a distressed property owner, there is something that you can do every single time. I'm telling you. And what I like to do, I'm just telling you, Nicole, and I'm speaking to the audience as well. And if you're just listening to this, make sure that you go to Brent Daniels' YouTube channel to put a face with a voice. But what I want is I want it as hands off for me as possible. If I'm going to look for a different solution, whether it be creative finance, whether it be subject to, whether it be wholesaling, whether it be flip or whatever else, I know that my bread and butter is wholesaling. This is what's paying the bills. This is what's the cash machine. This is the ATM. I'm going to focus my mental abilities and attention to that. And I need somebody that I can pass these things off to and not have to think about and basically get passive income. Is essentially what happens. Unless, obviously you negotiate, I'm the buyer, and right. You negotiate and I'm able to buy that and flip that property or double escrow it, then obviously that's going to stay in my wheelhouse. But if it's something that maybe it's a little bit too tight, it doesn't really fit, and I give it over there, now I get a referral fee and life is good. So there's actually 2 different ways to add income to my business's bottom line by, reaching out to thessqueen.com, right?
That's it.
I love it. I love it. It's just a phenomenal resource for the Rhino tribe here. And guys, if you're running, guys and gals, if you're running into any of those situations, definitely reach out. Nicole, how did you're 21, you get a real estate license. Like, who are you? Like, what? Like, for real? Like, and then you go off and do 3,000 deals. Like, inside of you, like internally, like what told you that you could do this?
It's honestly, it was an evolution, right? Like everything else, like you have to, like it evolved, like who I was as a person, who I had to step up as a leader in my organization. I mean, I wrote a book on how to master short sales, right? That's the book that we wrote. And I could write a whole other book on how to fail, right? Like how to fail forward because I had made every mistake possible. And let me tell you, even though it was very painful and I was broke more times than I feel like I made money through learning all of this, it really developed who I needed to be and who I needed to show up as. And a part of me was, I felt like in the beginning, I had something to prove because I was so young, right? And there's not that many women in this industry that are running organizations like this. Like we know that in the real estate industry. And so I remember, I mean, it just took so much for me to evolve. A lot of work on myself is like, hey, like I know I can do this. I just have to figure out how. I mean, I've rebuilt my company twice. And that second time I was like, I fired everybody at once. And I was like, I am either going to do this or I'm not. Like I'm all in or I'm out. Right. And so, you know, it's crazy because they don't teach you how much you need to work on yourself in order to be able to have a successful business, right? Yep. It, like your perspective, your mindset, the way that you show up every day is literally the results that you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And people don't get that because mindset is thrown around so much in this industry and in entrepreneurship, but people don't understand, like it is literally the difference between you keep failing forward or you just quit. And it takes like somebody that's literally almost insane to just keep going despite being broke, despite failing. And especially with something that I do with short sales, there was no resource. It's not like I could have had a mentor or coach. Like people have so much great resources for wholesaling, like watching your stuff, being coached by you. But with short sales, there wasn't anything because no one was able to really figure it out or establish. And the people that didn't want to share. And so having to learn the hard way was very painful. And then finally getting to a point in my journey where I had to humble myself and I was like, okay, I need to network with people that are much smarter than me, because if I'm going to build out this organization, I don't know what I don't know. Yep. And so that's what I did. I was a part of masterminds. I read Scaling Up, which was the reason why I fired everyone at once. It's a phenomenal book. And it said this one really key thing. And it said, if you had to rehire everyone in your organization, would you? Like look at each position. And I was like, I wouldn't. And so I realized, okay, I need to hire intentionally. I need to know, as a leader, I have to know like what position is important in my organization and what that looks like. So it was a journey, having to show up as that person and then getting past the stigmas of, oh, you're a woman, you're, young, you're this, you're that. And so over the last 10, 11 years, it's just been that growth. And then it turned into like having, this following of people that are like, oh my God, she's doing it. Like I can do it. Like you're inspiring me by just being honest and authentic with your journey, because I would post on social media, like not everything's perfect. Like this is what's going on. Like I lost money here. I did this, but I kept moving forward. And so for me, that's what kept moving me forward, because I realized like it was so much bigger than me. Like, and now my why just kept evolving. It was at first it was my children, and then it was, something to prove. And then now it's the people in my organizations and the clients we serve and the community that we're consistently, outreaching to. So
I love it. I love it. And you're hanging around amazing people. I mean, obviously that's the external part, right? Yep. The internal part, you had that drive. You knew that you had the capacity for greatness, for doing something that was really special. And you just had that motor. And I think that everybody that's listening or watching, we're just a small group. Anybody that's listening and watching has that. You know what I mean? But just fueling it and seeing it and giving real life examples, I think we need that. And I think you're showing that. And I love that. But who do you surround yourself with? Like, how do you stay sharp? How do you not, I mean, you've been so successful. How do you not just like, it's Rocky 3 and you buy a robot and you get lazy and get knocked out. You know what I mean? How do you keep the fire alive and keep the passion going?
So honestly, I mean, it's just constantly learning. Like, it's constantly finding things that excite me because, going through from, salesperson to CEO to just full on entrepreneur, it was like, okay, I was used to day, right? So we are salespeople. So we love the hustle and the grind. That's what makes us great, that drive. And then when I got out of production, I was like, what do I do now? Like, I'm so used to hustling and working 80 hours a week, and I bought my time back. Yep. And when I was going into that phase, it was almost like I was depressed for a little bit because that was like my motivation every morning, waking up. And so what I learned in this, phase of my life is like, now my time is everything. Right? Like the people that I'm spending it with, the conversations that I'm having, is it helping me grow? Is it helping me grow my mindset? Are the things that I'm listening, sparking, my like ideas for my growth? Like, so I'm constantly like trying to learn new things and constantly perfect our processes. And like, that gets me excited. My mentorship gets me excited. Like, so right now I'm just, really blessed to be in a position where I can focus on whatever I want. Right? Like, my business is running like a well-oiled machine. And now it's just a matter of overseeing it and doing things that I'm passionate about.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So how do people in the Rhino tribe here, how do we get a hold of you? How do we say that we've got an opportunity? I know that we've got the website, but that feels, I mean, is there somebody that they can reach out to? Is there a little bit, can we get a little bit past the gatekeeper, which is the website? Can we get a little bit of bonus here for everybody listening and watching? Like, what's the best?
So that you can call us directly, and I can give the number. It's 972-832-2621. There's always someone that's going to answer.
One more time.
972-832-2621. So you can call us directly. We always say, like, use this as a resource. Even if you just want to have a conversation about a deal that's not involved with us, we have no problem helping.
And if people want to just tell you that you're great or reach out to you or say, hey, I'm in Dallas or whatever, what's the best way to reach out to you? Is it Instagram? Is it email? Is it email?
Yeah. So email is the best way. Of course you can go, I'm on Instagram, the Nicole Espinosa. I have a YouTube channel, the Short Sale Queen, and then they can always shoot me an email, Nicole@thessqueen.com.
I love it.
I'm accessible that way.
I love it, guys. It'll be in all the show notes here, so that's easily accessible. You don't have to just write it down or rewind this. It'll be in the show notes, so you guys can check that out. Nicole, thank you so much. I mean, it gives us another tool to be able to use in our wholesaling business to not only get some deals at a discount that were too tight before, but also to help out these people that were kind of like, nobody really wants to help them out. They're kind of getting left behind, and also to be able to get a potential, referral fee from that. So it's just a win-win-win all the way across. So I love it. Thank you for being on here. You are amazing. And by the way, guys, Nicole has an incredible, like, just perfect reputation among the top companies around the country. Everybody is using her and using her company to do their short sales. So there you go. Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole. And for everybody out there that is interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family, the TTP program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, check out what it's all about. Check out all the testimonials. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a strategy call today. I look forward to working with you personally. Nicole, you're the best. Everybody out there, I love you, and I encourage you, as always, to go out there and talk to people. Till next time. Love you guys. See ya.